Okay. This is going to be part two of lesson number 11. Potential distractions outside the vehicle. What things outside the vehicle could present a distraction? Of course, the first thing that comes to many people's minds is the one in the picture here. Accidents usually are something that distracts people, although we're not limited to that. Could be crash scenes, could be road construction or work zones, people, places, or things of interest along the side of the roadside. Can be animals as well too. Okay, preventing distraction before driving. Think about potential distractions that might occur in vehicles uh, before you go out driving, right? That way, you're going to be more likely to be cognizant of avoiding them uh, when you're driving. Develop a plan to reduce and eliminate distractions. Right. This is kind of one of those things where I was trying to do today about what's your strategy for avoiding the phone distraction. Right. Turning it off altogether. Well, if we use our phone for a navigational device, it's nearly impossible to do that. Now, I wonder if you can put the phone on airplane mode, but if you have your uh, location settings on, you'll be able to still use the navigational aspect of the phone, but you won't be getting notifications from Snapchat or some other type of social media. Expect distractions to occur and determine how best you're going to address them. Right, and I love the buckle down approach, which is simply this: there are certain times when we need to uh, apply laser focus, and we can't afford to remove our eyes from what's in front of us, uh, especially if we're driving at high speeds and there's a lot of traffic volume around us, and we don't have that luxury of a 3 to 4 or 10-second space cushion. Okay, whenever we try to develop it, another car shoots right into their space cushion and destroys it. This happens. We know it does. And these are the times when we don't want to. We don't have any outs, for example, because they're all occupied either by cars or a wall, for example, a ditch. So we need to apply that buckle down laser focus and uh, scan with our eyes up in front of us, and the quick scan search in the rear view mirror to make sure, just to kind of monitor what's happening behind us. We just can't even look down at our navigational system nor any other type of stuff at that moment. No food, no drink, no adjusting radio or AC or any of that. We are literally just focused in on what's happening right at that moment with our car. Okay. Managing driver distractions. So, how can we do this? What are our strategies? So, we can turn off or stow devices before leaving, before driving away, right? If you need to use your cell phone, pull over to a safe area, right? So, let's say our parents are expecting a phone call from us, etc. We can pull over to a safe area and make that phone call, even if we have Bluetooth and hands free. Ensure you are familiar with your vehicle's features and its equipment before you get behind the wheel. At least the basic equipment, right? We at least want to know how to use windshield wipers, windshield washer fluid, turning on the lights for the car, and probably something with the AC. Okay. And make adjustments to the vehicle controls before driving, right? So we know it's going to be a hot day. We're going to turn on the AC well ahead of time before we even get on the road. Okay. Take advantage of normal stops to adjust controls if necessary, or ask a passenger to adjust the controls, right? Another strategy. Properly secure all loose items in your vehicle. This becomes important, especially when we're talking about pets, right? If we don't strap them in, they start moving around all over the place, and they do become very, very distracting, especially if they start throwing up or they start coming up into the front seat. They become extremely distracting. Eat before driving, right? Rather than eat while you're driving. Okay. Uh, Eating and driving is truly a distraction. It really is, and it gets bad fast uh, because we are not using two hands. We're consumed with our need to eat. Okay, if we are dipping any of our food into a sauce, for example, that's just incredibly distracting. If we're eating something that's falling apart in our lap, that's going to be incredibly distracting. Okay, or if we're trying to eat it in such a way to avoid it from falling apart in our lap, that's incredibly distracting. It's truly a breakdown of safety. Okay, do your personal grooming before you start driving in your car. You want to use that rear view mirror for your personal grooming habits or needs? Go right ahead, but do it before you turn the car on. Okay. Avoid arguments and stressful or emotional conversations with other passengers or on your hands-free, telephone conversation with someone else. Right. Stay focused. Pay attention. Expect the unexpected, and ask. Encourage your passenger to help you with that. Okay. Driver's responsibility while driving. Be aware of potential distractions and be proactive about identifying strategies to manage distractions. Okay, 5-point violation for texting or cell phone use while driving. That's absolutely true. That's the end of your license right there. Okay, you'll have it suspended. You are responsible for operating your vehicle safely. You have to take ownership of your behavior. If you don't, and something happens, the court will make you take ownership of your behavior. Okay, so it's better to be proactive and recognize that it's your responsibility to be safe for everyone else on the road. Okay, distracted driving prevention: lead by example and never drive distracted. Right, be an example for other drivers. And if you need to text or talk on the phone, then you can find a place, and safely pull over into a parking lot, for example, to make that call or make that text message or whatever, and then turn your phone right off, okay, and get on with your the task of driving. Okay, speak up if you see a friend or family member driving while distracted. Right, I'm sure you're actually doing that already. Okay, it does help. Have everyone in your family, including your parents, sign a pledge to commit to driving distraction free. If your parents want you to do it, I think it's definitely you should be doing it. You should expect your parents to drive distraction free as well. They're the ones that are setting the example for you. Absolutely. So to recap and review, the definition of potential consequences of distracted driving: distractions inside the vehicle, distractions outside the vehicle. We know strategies for managing driver distraction, and we do need to spread the word on the dangers of distracted driving. Okay, and it doesn't stop with cell phone use. Right, we talked about just a conversation with another person, another peer in the car, is a very, very distracting thing for beginner teen drivers. Okay, concluding thoughts and discussions. I'm going to read these for us. I wish we had more time to talk about them. What might happen to the driver, to the passenger, or to others if they continue to allow the driver to be distracted while driving? Right? What can you do? So, what can happen? Right. If we allow this person to continue as a distracted driver, oh boy, this is not what we want. Right. So it's not going to be safe. Okay. What can you do as the driver to prevent distracted driving? Okay, we can develop our strategies and we can apply them consistently when before and during while we're driving. What can you do as the passenger to prevent distracted driving? You can encourage your driver to avoid distractions. Right, you can point them out to them, and you can do what I do. Okay, so let me give you an example. Okay, so every morning, this was like every morning I would go to school with one of my friends. You'd come and pick me up. We lived very close to each other, and it was around a 15 to 8 minute drive in good weather. to our school. We both taught at the same school, and he would pick me up. Okay, his car. So he'd pick me up. He would then, you know how that guy was talking about driving with his hands at 8 and 4. This guy would drive at 8 and 4, right, with his hands. But it didn't stop there. So he was so, I don't know what the right word is, careless. He would often have his windshield wipers going even when it was dry because he just didn't even notice that they were on. He was so focused on something else, totally distracted. He would, like, I'm not joking about this either. He would come with his cup, right? Like a mug, right? Open mug, hot tea, right? It wasn't even coffee, it's tea. And it was hot, right? So what happens if this spills on him, you know? And he would have like a variety of breakfast that he would eat on his drive, right? So one would be this rice cake with like almond butter on it. He would have a like a granola bar. I'm trying to think if he did have. I swear to you, he had stuff that he would eat out of a container with a spoon. And I can't remember what it was, if it was applesauce or something else. But he would drive like this, right? And here we are on like 55-mile-per-hour country roads that are narrow. Um, and he would barely have one hand on the wheel at all, right? Because that one hand also had the mug of tea in it. It was just insane. And I swear to God, he would even take phone calls uh, when we were driving. It was just insane, and like by hand, right? He had an older kind of caravan, Dodge Caravan, a minivan, and he would do this, and he wouldn't change his any of his driving style. He wouldn't change his speed, nothing. When we were driving in like snow, right? So our road conditions, like our road surface conditions, totally changed. There'd be snow in the air even, and he just was like oblivious to it. I think maybe that's the best word. Is totally oblivious. And I told him that I was going to use him as my one of my examples, and he was a little disappointed. But he's a great example. And so, what was my thing? What I would do? I asked him, what can I do as a passenger? And I would say, Chris, I don't feel safe in this situation. Do you mind if I just drive? Uh, and he was put off for sure, but he let me do it. He let me drive, and I did have to say to him, like, look, Chris, I'm sorry, but if you're not going to let me drive, I really don't think it's a good idea to ride with you anymore. I don't feel safe in this situation. I said this to him, and he was very put off by it, but he did allow me to drive. And I didn't like driving his car. I didn't feel safe in his car anyway. And I eventually just stopped riding with him altogether and just rode, in my own car. But so that's the other thing you can do as a passenger. You can put your foot down and say, I'm sorry, I'm not riding with you like this. So either allow me to drive the car, or I'm just going to have to not ride with you anymore. And even if it's really really that bad, boy, maybe you can even line up a ride to get home from wherever you're going, for example. I hate to think that you would you'd want to get out of the car and wait for some other ride to come. But the other thing is, I don't want to see any one of you ever get injured in a car accident because someone is driving, just doing distracted driving and won't change. Okay, so there are references for today's lesson. All right, guys, go right ahead. Hope you guys get the quizzes in. I am going to do a quiz review. So anyway, remember, if you see a veteran, remember to thank him or her for his service. And as always, drive safely. See you on Thursday.